Hi, I'm Amanda Gordon with the Winston-Salem-Forsyth County School System. I'm an elementary art teacher at Diggs Latham Elementary School. We are an A+ magnet school, and this is my 18th year. I'm going to talk to you about a lesson that I plan for 5th graders. The lesson compares realistic, abstract, and non-objective art with a focus on non-objective, and I'm showing you my lesson plan. That's more of a unit plan. In the lesson, we make a connection to Kandinsky, and I show the student several different examples of non-objective art. Usually they start with a large white piece of paper, 18 inches by 24 inches, although the size could be altered and even the color of the paper. Usually students create non-objective art with marker on one side of the paper and with paint on the other side of the paper. There is a connection to this lesson in the textbook. The textbook discusses paper sculpture. There's also an example of a Frank Stella piece that I also use as a print during this lesson. The final paper sculpture in the book uses 2 pieces of paper that are glued together and then cut so that the paper is able to be bent and folded. I usually just use 1 piece of paper with students. We use markers on one side and paint on the other. When they're finished and the paint has dried, they make cuts from the corners to release the paper and make it able to bend and fold. They usually attach ends with paper clips, and once they're finished with their design, they staple the paper together and pull the paper clips off. I asked students to make at least 4 cuts, and honestly, you don't really need many more than that. They cut from the corners, and they don't have to cut straight. I remind them not to cut so far that they touch in the center or it makes the paper too weak. And of course, they can bend and fold toward the front or the back, toward the marker or the paint. You just attach a corner or an edge, put a paper clip, and then attach another corner or an edge. So I give every table a basket of paper clips to use. I have multiple staplers that are out. I try to get them to create a sculpture that's more of an abstract, or even to continue the idea of non-objective art. So they don't really fold the sculpture into any particular recognizable image or object. And they can keep bending until they're happy with their piece. Then they cut a piece of yarn and can attach it to whichever side they would like to hang from, and we talk about adding a knot so that it will not slip out of the staple. You can display this hanging so that you can see it from all sides, or sometimes we talk about relief sculpture and then attach the sculpture to a poster for exhibiting. Here's one example of a finished student piece. It's actually attached to a poster to be exhibited soon. Here's another finished student piece. This student made a few extra cuts and folds, but just used that to create a unique design. My students really enjoy making the paper sculptures. They're surprised that a 2-dimensional flat paper turns into a 3-dimensional form. This is an excellent lesson to teach art vocabulary. We also made several math connections and compared 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional objects, learned about the fact that forms have volume, and made those math connections.